This world is so much fun to watch. Here, it's August 10th, 2023. Let us talk about the crazy things going in our world. Here's another TweetCap here on the Productive Conversations podcast. Hayden Nadler and Ryan Page are with us today. What is up, gentlemen?
How's it going, Matt?
What's up?
Not too bad. Better than the disgraceful Yankees right now. And once I
Disaster. Oh my God.
figure out this glow too, it'll be even better on my screen. But okay, well, looks like we fixed it. All right, guys, let us talk about the crazy things happening in our world today. First things first, I'm sure over the weekend you saw the crazy brawl that took place in Montgomery, Alabama. So here are
crazy.
the facts for that. Here, according to USA Today. But basically, we saw, all right, before I quote the article, we saw a boat that needed to dock. There were these people who were being very ignorant and wouldn't listen to the security guard. So instead of being orderly, good citizens, they became menaces to society, which led to an intense brawl that no one needed to be a part of. I mean, we are having new camera angles and people posting their perspective of the fight.
It's terrible.
Yes.
And so many people instantly whipped out a camera. They're like, "Oh, let's get it," which I think is kind of fun. I'm like, there's so many people who knew this was going to happen like this.
It's pretty scary that people were quick to whip out a. They were very quick to whip out a camera, yet didn't help as much when they should have.
I mean, plenty of people were quick to
plenty people
put out
helped
an ass
out.
whipping.
Plenty of people helped, but it's kind of crazy that people would rather film than get involved. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, quite a reflection on society, if you will. Our first instinct is to get content out of it. But yeah, as of now, 3 men have been charged with assaults following the brawl that broke out in Alabama. One of these 3 men was in custody, and the other 2 were set to turn themselves in on Tuesday, according to Police Chief Dale J. Albert. Police are also seeking a man seen hitting multiple people with a folding chair during the brawl. If I think you guys saw that literal WWE
I saw
style,
that too.
and hence they don't allow face shots anymore.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I didn't see a man with a folding chair. I think the police should just drop it. I didn't see
it. But yeah, they saw 13 people being detained during this aftermath. And it was quite the mess. But yeah, is it like you said, this has been, there's definitely some funny memes. There are some legit scary moments. I mean, the guy with the chair hit that woman like straight up on the top of the head like a Wile E. Coyote.
It's not surprising. It's not surprising that this happened in Montgomery, Alabama. Not exactly the most not exactly the most high class, like Alabama people. Not trying to say anything bad about Alabama, but it's not exactly the classiest state.
First of all, roll tide. Second of all, I'm going to jump in here. I think that this is a classic example of, I'm not going to swear. I'm just going to say mess around, find out, but you can insert the correct terminology for the kids at home.
Yeah.
All right. I heard as well. I've seen online, granted, all online. This is all social media. I've done absolutely zero homework through legacy news media, not a bit, because I wanted to hear people's on the ground perspective. I heard that this pontoon boat or whatever, wasn't a pontoon, doesn't matter, was jawjacking with the ship's captain or co-captain or something. Someone on the ship also asked them, "Hey, we're docking here. This is our spot. Can you move?"
I did hear that as well.
And they got belligerent with them. And that's when security came again. So that guy, what we saw, the beginning of the brawl, was not like the first time they had been asked to move. Mm-hmm. That was the last time they had been asked to move. They had already been asked to move multiple times. Now, if you're intent on creating a problem and keeping your boat where it doesn't belong, by the way, then whatever. Then that's your prerogative. The police could get involved and make you move your boat. You're not supposed to be there. The boat was it was a huge spot. It was clearly meant for the ship that was taking multiple passengers. It was not meant for, personal watercraft. All right. That's number one. But they didn't even just leave it there. They didn't even leave it at belligerent. They assaulted a dude. We all saw it. They attacked the security guard first. And every single angle has confirmed that. Every single angle. Also, this boat like had like 4 or 5 guys on it. This is again just the guys. Plus, they all seem to have like wives or sisters or girlfriends or whatever. Like there was a bunch of people on this boat. If no one had interfered at
They could have
all,
killed this guy.
they could have yes. It could have been a whole different disaster. So listen, the chairman, who's not real, but the chairman there, did he need to go full rock mankind? Probably not. Probably not. But they didn't need to jump a security guard. They didn't need to do that. I mean, you should just listen to the man doing his job. But even if they were intent on not listening and being ignorant and being belligerent, clearly probably drunk, they could have still done that without attacking somebody. They attacked that guy. As soon as they tried to hurt a guy for just doing his job, it became all bets off. We talk all the time about defending ourselves. We freaking load ourselves up with weapons of actual combat to defend ourselves all the effing time in this country. And then one guy shows up with a chair, does a pretty good job of it all on his lonesome, and then we all have a problem. I don't think we can sit here and say they shouldn't have done that. This guy was being attacked. People saw it and people helped out. Now, the point about the camera thing, I agree. Like, it is crazy how many people just decided to film it. But that's a separate thing. Anyone who jumped in to help this guy, and I don't know if anyone from the boat tried to stop this fight. I'm going to assume no. But in fairness, there's only 3 arrests. So maybe someone on the boat, there was more than 3 people on that boat.
They have plenty of footage to make out of it.
Yeah. So maybe someone on that boat did try and be the voice of reason. And if that's the case, then fine. Good for them as well. But when someone is getting attacked like that, you don't worry about the rest of it. You need to stop the attacker. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. And so I think that any wrongdoing that may have occurred from the cavalry as it arrived, I think we should just ignore it. I really do. Because the alternative is worse. If we take people who are doing a good Samaritan thing and we punish them, then we just won't have any good Samaritans anymore. And guess what'll happen? It'll be 3-on-1. And they'll they'll knock a guy unconscious and toss him in the water. And then we'll have a whole different story and a whole different brawl will probably break out. It'll be a whole other issue. So I think that everyone saw their neighbor, a member of their community, meaning the Montgomery community, by the way, being harassed, and more than harassed, being assaulted. And they stepped in and said, we're not going to allow that. And no one, from what I've seen, went to the hospital. There was no severe beatings. This was just, they showed up. They put down a violent group of people who were attacking someone, and then the police came and took it from there. Oh. I think that this was handled as best as it possibly could have. This is, I mean, other than the people on the boat not doing it at all, this is the best outcome.
And there were some funny moments in there, like the guy jumping in the water.
That you're missing is, wasn't this like not? Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't this attack on like an African American man, and it was a bunch of all these white men attacking? So that's what, like, you're also seeing like the huge racial disparity in this country, and you're also seeing like, like the white supremacists kind of attacking this black person. It's really, really like scary. It for a lot of these people, like a lot of minorities, like stuff like this happens all the time, and that's really, really scary. This isn't just Alabama. I mean, Alabama, you hear about it a lot. It's just like, it's very, very scary, and I think this brawl like highlights what there are, the ongoing racial tensions that are still happening in this country, which I don't really think
thank goodness
spoken about as much.
To Michael B. Phelps, that's my favorite nickname for the kid who jumps in the water.
Is that his name?
Think it's kind of fun. So they had a whole list of Kofi Kingfish was another really good one as a wrestling fan. But Michael B. Phelps was my favorite because it's like Michael Jordan and Michael B. Jordan. Very funny. Phelps. Michael B. Phelps made me laugh out loud at work for like a whole minute. There's a lot of other really good ones too, but I think everyone who stepped up was doing what they felt needed to be done. And you're right, Hayden, obviously you can't not talk about the racial component. You have to assume that's why these belligerent boaters thought that they could just beat on a guy because of the race thing. I can't fathom another reason why, frankly, 4 people would say we can just beat this man in public other than they hold, some very, very, very wrong white supremacist beliefs. That's the only thing I can think of why you would even like how your head even gets there. But I'm glad that everyone else put their head back in a much better place when they stepped up and did you see them powerbomb that woman into the water?
I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
there are these literal memeable moments like wow.
Like again, you can argue every little bit like was that too much? And the answer might be yes, but it was also too much that they jumped the guy. So why are we calling one thing too much or the other thing too much? The whole thing was over the top and everyone besides the security guard did exactly what they were supposed to. The security guard, of course, didn't do anything wrong. And so, he didn't deserve to get beat on, but everybody else involved in the initial fight got what they deserved, be it a chair shot or, a trip into the, the Gulf.
It's just crazy, like the and honestly, the unlawfulness in like this country, and like it was kind of started a little bit, like not saying that, this was the direct cause of it, but like definitely with like Trump and his presidency, it definitely like really like didn't help.
I mean,
like,
yeah, we could spend a whole podcast talking about that.
The lawlessness of people who think they can like kind of they're above the law now.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, we could spend a whole podcast talking about that, but I think we should focus on Michael B. Phelps, Kofi Kingfish, and the chairman clearing house in what's it called? In true pro wrestling fashion. It's like when the heels are beating on one baby face and the rest of the baby faces show up.
Shinsuke is now heel, by the way.
Yeah. All we needed was Teddy Long to show up and make it a tag team match play. That was the only thing missing. Otherwise, it would have been exactly like SmackDown circa 2006. or what's his name? The one guy'd have to go one-on-one with the Undertaker.
That's your ultimate punishment.
Kane versus the Undertaker, or Edge versus Shawn Michaels.
Michael B. Phelps versus the Undertaker.
Where Shawn Michaels like kicked out of like 3 tombstones, and then he, then Undertaker kicked out of Sweet Chin Music. Or
Shawn and Taker, one of the best WrestleMania feuds of all time. But we're getting off topic,
man. But yeah, there's a lot to reflect on there, and we'll see what happens in Montgomery, Alabama. This was the same place Rosa Parks refused to take her seat. And that happened in 55-23. So 68 years later, this happens, huh?
Which could either be really, really funny or incredibly sad. And it's definitely both, unfortunately.
I think you said it right on the head. It's both. But let's talk about another sad thing. Colin Cowherd.
Okay, yeah.
Guys, Colin Cowherd does the herd. He is truly an example of you don't have to be right in your analysis or your takes. You just have to have great production. You have to have confidence, and you could be so wrong and tone deaf that you'll still get views. And in this case is probably the worst example of him being tone deaf. Long story short, on the show earlier this week, he released a list of all the quarterbacks that can't win a Super Bowl, and he made a list of pretty much every quarterback that has played in the NFL since 2013. This included the late Dwayne Haskins, who tragically passed away last year after being hit by a dump truck in Florida. So he said, Dwayne Haskins can't win a Super Bowl because he's unfortunately no longer in this world. Yeah, at this time of this recording, 2 days later, he has not said an apology. The network hasn't said an apology to the listeners and the Haskins family, most importantly. And the fact that this blunder, both on Cowherd and his entire staff, and they made the graphic and they approved it and they put it on the air and they still ran with it, just shows how much of a disgrace Colin Cowherd and the herd and that entire staff is. What a joke, guys. I'm sure you agree with me.
I mean, I agree with you. It is a joke, but I do think this was more of a clerical error, unfortunately.
Yeah, but you can't do that. That's a bad one.
So that's what I was going to say, because I
agree with you on that, but like, they should have looked at it a little bit more.
Yeah,
But
so I don't watch. So you guys both agree that this was just an oversight. They kind of forgot
it
that
was an oversight, but
they
it's a
weren't
really
going for the
bad.
joke,
I
right?
mean,
Like,
it's
to be clear, they weren't trying to make the
no,
joke
no, no.
of obviously. Okay,
It's a really bad oversight in all seriousness.
okay.
But like, it's really really bad, and they should be penalized, and they should have to make an apology, of course, because it was really tone deaf, and it's against the guy like who ultimately passed away. But which is it's a sad thing, which it should be treated like that, which is pretty scary that it's not, in my opinion. But like,
Okay, so hearing that, because at first
Hey,
I
can
thought
I just
they
say
were
one
trying.
last thing,
Okay,
Ryan,
go for
with
it.
that? For the people, and I've heard, if you want to say a conspiracy on this, I've heard people say they did that on purpose just for the traffic that came to their show, which is for those who actually thought that, including Hayden, Jerry Recco on the Fam. That is such a stupid take. That is so unprofessional.
That
is not worth
fucking take ever. If I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, that is absolutely horrendous.
Ever.
And if they
would never intentionally do that.
Right. And if they did that, then that show literally should be taken off the air with that. That is as bad as it gets for so many people who try their best to make content. For him who is blessed with such a audience and a huge platform to do that, horrendous, absolutely horrendous. But he doesn't care. He clearly doesn't care.
I agree with you 100% on that. That was pretty bad.
Okay, so hearing this, so it sounds like, because again, I assumed when you sent this to me, Matt, that it was on purpose, that he was making a bad joke. So he's not doing that. It seems like the team wasn't trying to do that. And if that's
unless he's the sickest human being on the planet, which I highly doubt that. But you never know.
Yeah. All right. We'll set that world aside, right? Let's pretend, or let's assume that good faith, right? It was a mistake. In terms of the prediction thing that you started with, Matt, I think we should separate those two things, because it sounds like he's bad at his job and he made a big mistake. Those are two separate things, because as someone who does predictions all the time, I am almost never right. Quite literally, professionally, I'm almost never right in my predictions. But so I'll put that over there. But yeah, if you make a mistake, own up to it. If you're bad at your job, if you're good at your job, if you're somewhere in the middle at your job, if you make a mistake, especially one that's going to hurt people, like someone's the family of a deceased professional athlete, just apologize. Just be like, hey, we didn't catch that. We need to do better. We will do better. We apologize. It's a quick thing. You could put out a statement. You can mention it real quick on your show. The fact that he's ignoring it and hoping it just goes away is that's to me the biggest sin here. Again, he's bad at his job. Fine. He, made a mistake. Fine. But the fact that you're bad at your job, you made a mistake, and then you've done nothing to rectify the situation or even acknowledge its existence, that to me feels wrong, because at this point he's aware of the mistake. You would have to assume, right?
To be honest with you, it obviously was a mistake, because he has players like Blake Bortles, who's not even in the league anymore. He had Blake Bortles on that list. It was a list he made about a year or two ago that he probably never managed to change because he was too lazy. Which, to be honest with you, you should have looked at the list, because the list was fucking terrible. Besides Dwayne Haskins, you had Blake Bortles, who's not even in the league anymore. There was, I think, a couple of guys. Paxton Lynch, that list is wasn't even updated. So if you're gonna put something on, on a 2023, you have to look at players that are still in the league. So the list wasn't updated, which terrible oversight. The fact that no one managed to see that out of the whole production team they have a whole team. How the fact that no one was able to catch that was pretty dumb, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it is, especially, again, hearing that now too. I mean, again, Matt, you're right, because this is actually a crazy story, because it shows that A, he's bad at his job because he's using an outdated list. B, he's not being professional, because even if you wanted to use the outdated list for some reason, you should still check it once over to make sure nothing problematic is there. And C, he's not apologizing for being both bad at his job using an outdated list and not doing his due diligence to take someone off the list that clearly shouldn't have been included. But again, I do think that the first two can be forgiven. It's the last one, to me, that is really a problem. And hopefully other fans and other professionals in his industry start calling him out a little bit on not talking about this. I mean, I remember, this is a similar but different story. I believe it was Skip Bayless it could have been Colin Cowherd, actually, now that I'm saying it. One of the two. When they talked about mental health, Dak Prescott.
Yeah, this
This
is
was Skip Bayless.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. And there was enough folks in like that universe in the in the NFL and in sportscasting or whatever that kind of pressed on Bayless that they didn't just. I mean, again, if I recall, I don't think I ever left feeling that was an appropriate response from Bayless even after he attempted to correct it. But you know what? An attempt was made to correct it. And it's because people were like, hey, dude, come on. And so hopefully that happens here. Hopefully other folks that, stop the nonsense conspiracy talk. That never helps. That's just a byproduct of the times that we live in, unfortunately. And actually just hold this guy accountable. We talk about him using his platform to put out crap, right? Everyone else who has a platform should put out something to make this guy better. In my opinion, as someone who's only a passive consumer, I only see the viral hits that break out. Again, I saw this happen. I didn't see any of the content prior to seeing this start to trend. It's just, like, if you have a platform in this space, you should use it to say, hey, this is not how we talk. This is not what we do. And an apology is owed. And hopefully, if enough people do that, he'll catch the hint and do an apology.
If all he just has to say is he has to put out a statement, I apologize for the oversight on my team.
But I doubt he will.
And that's it.
That's what I'm saying. The fact that he's refusing to put out any sort of statement of apology is insane because it's easy.
And that's also the thing, and it really could make a case study on Colin Cowherd, the broadcaster. Big show on ESPN, goes to Fox Sports, and he's like, yes, you're right. A lot of people make bad analysis and bad points, but his is just so egregious. It's just like, how did this guy get a job? Like calling Sauce Gardner Juice Gardner, or saying
Again,
the worst of the worst.
Or he
like
thought
that.
it
No,
was
he
juice.
thought his juice. That's just bad research.
So he's just not a good researcher. He doesn't do his research.
Yeah, him or his team, his staff.
Yeah, obviously his team doesn't do it either.
And the thing is, he's very thick-skinned because people come at him all the time, and he just doesn't care. Which you gotta admire the guy a little bit for that. And that's what I literally every single person I refer to, if they're hesitant about doing any podcast or show and about takes, look at Colin Cowherd. In all seriousness, I'm sure you could agree, Hayden.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Anyways, let's talk about Kai Cenat. Did you guys see? You saw what he did in Union Square. So this guy, this past weekend in New York City. This guy, Kai Cenat, huge social media influencer, 4 million followers on YouTube, 5 million on Instagram, 6.5 million on Twitch. He said he was going to give a huge giveaway Friday at 4 p.m. in Union Square Park in New York City. In this stream, he promised computers, PlayStation 5s, microphones, keyboards, webcams, all these things. And a few hundred people showed up. Then an estimated 5,000 to 6,000 people showed up. He clearly wasn't able to provide all those people those very luxurious gifts. And it only led to riots, a level 4 response for riots, which is the highest it goes in New York for the New York Police Department. And Kai was charged with inciting a riot and doing an unlawful gathering. He did not get a permit. He did not inform the police. And now he could face jail time for this.
Yeah.
So
it's a real crime.
I mean, these influencers are. I don't even get me started on influencers. I hate all of them, to be honest with you. I don't know why they don't just keep their mouth shut and they have to say shit that half the time they can't even promise. So I would say about half the stuff they say is a lie, to be honest. If I'm just talking about influencers in general. So
I think
that's me against the profession, but
it's interesting because there is like a certain class of influencer, and I think Matt, you spend enough time online that you agree. We may even have a story about a similar influencer later, if we get time to it. But where their content is just giving things to poor people. Seriously, like there's a whole class of YouTuber or like where
that's the genre, giving to the poor.
Yes, your genre is I'm gonna give free stuff away. If you follow me and if you watch me enough, eventually you get free stuff. And you know what? It's seductive. Like it's obviously starting a riot for a PlayStation. I think we do also have to put a little bit on the people who arrived. Like it's a PlayStation. Let's just deep breath, right? deep breath, get one next year. You know, the PlayStation 2, I bet you can find that for like $30 at a tag sale. You know what I mean? So if you're that hard up, you know, but that's number one. So I do want to just say that before I go into this. But number two is you have these, you know, if you're in a situation, I mean, where maybe you have nothing, right? Or you're struggling to make ends meet, you have mounting debt or something. And then you just like you're on Twitter anyway. You're on Instagram anyway, right? You're on YouTube anyway. And suddenly this guy's like, if you follow me and come to Union Square, I'll give you $10,000. Or again,
that's
Twitter.
serious.
It happens all the time on Twitter with these people.
I'll
like,
give you $10,000.
One random person who retweets this is going to get
people
get $10,000. Like
the problem is people are dumb enough for the people who aren't educated to
it's not even about dumb.
Be feeble enough to believe this
But
nonsense.
it's not even about dumb, Hayden. Like if you're got mounting debt that you don't know how to pay, and someone you're already seeing them on YouTube. Like this is not like you didn't go out of your way to find this guy, and he's like, yeah, show up, I'll get you a car. Yeah, you're gonna go. Of course you're gonna
I
go.
would.
I've retweeted the giveays before. When Mr. Beast says, I'm picking
you're not
a random
like, come
guy
here,
who
I'm gonna give a
retweets.
car, like, you know.
No, when Mr. Beast though, when he goes, I'm gonna give $10,000 away to one guy or girl who retweets this, I retweet it. What if I get 10K?
I mean,
Come on now.
So do I, but I'm not gonna go to like show up at the guy's house expecting a car.
Right, but I'm saying that I'm not even as hard up as some folks. Like, you know, compared to some folks, I'm doing okay, right? So if you're in a really tough spot, it's just so weird. It's so weird that this is a type of entertainment. And it goes to a much larger thing. I was talking to someone that I know who lives out in LA, and they do tours of Skid Row. They have slum tours, is what it's called. I'm not making that up. That's a real thing you can really do if you go to Los Angeles on vacation. Yes, you can pay someone money, and they will bring a tour group to Skid Row.
And they're just like, yo, look at that. Someone suffering.
Yes.
Huh.
Why? How is it that human suffering has become entertainment? Like, and not even just like human. Too? Again, not even human suffering in entertainment, because you know you want to do stories in a fictional setting that cover a range of human experiences, but actual human suffering, not actors, not scripted, real people who are really struggling. That's like, and then real people trying to stop struggling. And in the case of these giveaways and stuff, it's just so weird to me. And again, it's their right, I suppose. There's nothing you can do about it. This is not like we need to stop this. Like, this is not a law thing. You can't change a law. It's just about changing people's hearts, essentially, which no one knows how to do. It just happens over time. But I could, when I heard this story, again, this is a bit funny because it is over like, I don't want to say tchotchkes, but like compared to some of the things that people give away, this is over nothing. Like
a PlayStation
to be honest,
5.
To be honest with you, I can't imagine what would have happened if it had been a cash giveaway, which is really common in a lot of these videos and on social. If all those people had shown up to collect like $5,000, I think we would
somebody be dead.
Yeah, I think we'd be talking fatalities. I don't even think a riot would be the least of the problem that they had that day. There'd be dead people.
Kai said that, you know, I did this because New York deserves it. That's how he ended the street.
Deserves a riot or deserves PlayStations?
PlayStations at first, yeah.
Listen, these influencers, man, are just
trust me, with this younger generation, because I think it's fair to say that a lot of these were Gen Zers in this. If you name these influencers, I might be making an assumption, but you know, it's likely the case. But I remember, so when I was working casting in New York, I was helping cast this YouTube show, this dating show, and basically I had to go to. They asked me, they wanted to get high school kids. They wanted to cast high school kids in it. So the way I did, I just had to go to like all the major high schools in New York City, like LaGuardia and stuff like that. And I just said, now this was true that there were some episodes that would include YouTubers at the time, which definitely aren't famous now. Can't remember now. But I would say, and I did say might, I would say, hey guys, Logan Paul might be at this. I wasn't lying. And that's how I really got people cast into that. Like people really look up to these people of a younger generation. Really look up to these influencers.
Oh no,
And it
they're real
worked.
celebrities.
And yeah, and this guy Kai, I wasn't familiar with him, but damn, talk about the word influence himself. He was able to get all these people to ride and jump on NYPD cars and swing at each other with bats, and like it's a mess. 66 people have been arrested relating to this. And yeah, this might be a notorious New York City moment now.
Or
Yeah, I
running for
mean,
office.
it's there's too many the notorious moments, unfortunately. But with the, not even talking about the rats that constantly move throughout the city. So
I thought that was taken care of. The mayor made a whole speech about it.
yeah.
Oh,
Good,
that's another
good
podcast
one.
too.
It's another one for a different
Guys,
day.
I want to talk about a former adult film star named Mia Khalifa. So she was streaming and she was giving marriage advice. And she said this quote, which I think is true.
If you want
former
sex
adult film-
advice from her, I listen. Like she probably knows how to satisfy a man. So like, if I'm asking for a woman, like she probably will give good advice on how to keep your man happy and therefore keep him married. So
Is
like,
she married?
not the worst,
I'll address
person to
that.
ask.
Yeah.
Not the worst person to ask. Like if I'm trying like, if I have a girlfriend or I'm trying to satisfy them in the bedroom, you got to keep the wife happy. So like not the worst thing to ask.
So I'm sure Mia Khalifa can provide that, but her advice was more
Oh,
general.
I don't know about
on other
emotional
things.
intimacy. I have my doubts, but
Well, Hayden, I think this story is geared towards people who had similar opinions to say this. So her advice mainly with the marriage was if you're not happy, get the fuck out. Mia Khalifa responded over backlash over her viral advice considering divorce. So she talked about this like if you're not happy, and it said, and someone commented, "Well, what about your marriage history?" And she in the video herself, she jokingly responded to the commenter who the commenter. She said, "I was married at 18, divorced at 21. The second marriage, married at 25, divorced at 28. Third engagement at 29 and ended at 30, but I kept the ring." And I think she's in her mid 30s, like 31, 32.
I mean,
And yeah, she's getting backlash despite the advice of despite giving marriage advice. People didn't take her seriously because of her past as a sex worker and porn star. Now, is this fair or not?
Okay, so a couple things. First of all, I don't think her advice is problematic because she was a porn star. I think it's problematic because she's been divorced 3 times. So
Yeah.
successful marriage. That being said, her advice basically boiled down to divorce if you're unhappy. I don't, as a married guy, I don't know if I think that that's how I view my marriage. I don't know if my wife would agree or disagree with that, but I don't think she would. But it's a strategy. I think in general, you should try and be happy, right? And if you're with someone who's not making you happy and you can't find a way to be happy and you're both both angry all the time, then yeah, maybe it is best if you split up. You know what I mean? So I don't know if the advice was like bad per se. It's definitely not advice for a happy marriage, right? Because the advice for a happy marriage is don't have a marriage, which So I don't know what they were expecting, but I do think that had she been happily married, and some porn stars are, and she gave advice like, here's how me and my husband or my wife or whatever are, how we, cope through fights, or how we, make time for each other, all that stuff. I don't believe that would be disqualified at all based on her day job. If you're married, you're married. Like, you know how to be married if you're married. You're not better at marriage because you're a CPA or because you work at a 7-Eleven. Like, if you've been married for 20 years, then you know how to be married for 20 years. If you've been married for 10 minutes, you know approximately how to be married for 10 minutes. I don't think that your job has any bearing on that. I would also say that as a porn star, she was paid to do that. She wasn't sleeping around. A lot of people, for some reason, are like, oh, she was sleeping around. No, they gave her money to do that.
And
she
protected her, I assume, too,
Let's assume, yeah, you assume, but she didn't have to like any of those guys. She didn't have to speak to any of those guys after the filming was done. She may have never spoken to some of her scene partners ever again. It was a job. So I feel like a lot of people see her and are like, oh, well, she slept with so many guys. What could she know about marriage?
Yeah, that's
and
exactly
I would just
the
say
gist.
to the guys in particular, because we've all seen American Pie, right? We've all seen American Pie. Girls lie down, guys lie up. So guys, you know your real number, and you know the number you've told your partner, and you know your partner's number, and you know it's low. What is the difference if you have a partner with a high body count versus Mia Khalifa? I'll tell you the difference. The difference is Mia Khalifa did it for money. It was her job. Your partner did presumably do it for money. So, and if she did, obviously disregard what I just said. But so I feel like we need to stop being we're a little judgmental. Because if every girl that we wanted to marry someday had to be, completely chaste, A, what? That's a double standard. And B, there wouldn't be that many girls getting married, would there? So no. I think the whole controversy about her being a porn star is stupid. Sorry, I know you disagree. I know the internet disagrees, but the internet is wrong. It's stupid. You can be successfully married and a porn star. You can do both of those things. Now, if you're 3 times divorced, that's a whole different problem. If you've been divorced 3 times, maybe you're not great at being married, and therefore your marriage advice is definitely going to skew more toward that of someone who's divorced 3 times before the age of 32. So I would say that it's still bad advice, but it's just not bad advice for the reason the internet says it's bad advice.
No, I mean I'm gonna go kind of a little bit off what you said a little bit, but yeah, no, I agree. If you're married to someone, it shouldn't really matter what your profession is. Like if you're married, you know how to be married. If you don't, you don't. No matter if you're a porn star or a principal or like if you've been if you've had 5 different if you can't hold on to a woman or you can't hold on to a man, that's more on you than it is like on your profession. In my opinion.
Right, yes. Her 3 divorces are probably
that's on her.
For her advice giving.
That's on her. That's not like on the fact that she's a
or
porn
him.
star. Like
could be on him. We don't know who asked for the
divorce. It's not the fact that she's on a porn star. Like, if eventually you say the same thing. If a woman's been with like 10 guys, it's on her. If a guy's had 10 different women, it's on him. So like
especially marriage, by the way. Like, you know how hard put the wedding and all that stuff aside. You know how hard it is to get married? You have to show up. You have to sign paperwork. Like, it's like you have to go to a legal building, a government building to get married. Like, it's required.
I'll give an example. God, people are gonna kill me for saying this, but I'll say it anyway. Like Taylor Swift. All right, she writes all these songs about all these guys. If you've had like 30 guys within like 5 years, eventually that's on you.
She's just dating them.
I'm just saying I'm saying in general though, like in the like a marriage and like if you can't keep a partner for like either a marriage or a relationship, I think that's on you.
Well, it's on the couple. It takes 2 to tango. I would say we can't blame one person or the other every time. But I would say dating is also really different. Like it is when you're dating someone, you're not necessarily like thinking forever the whole time or at all. Like if you marry someone, at least for a while, your thought process is, I'm going to spend forever with this person. So if you've done that 3 times, if you've fallen headfirst into forever with 3 different people, now your advice loses a little bit of luck.
She's on Ariana Grande territory.
Ariana Grande's divorced, right? And she broke off engagements and stuff.
Davidson,
get advice from
one
her.
with Dalton Gomez.
Ariana Grande is a perfect example. Like, and it would be interesting if Ariana Grande had given this advice, if people would have had this backlash. My gut is internet that you wouldn't, and it's because of the porn.
She would. If Kim Kardashian's not getting same thing with Kim Kardashian.
But Kim Kardashian's a little bit of a hybrid, isn't she? Because how she got famous. So
I'm not talking about like her as like a sex star. I'm talking about like.
Oh, I'm saying, but that's how she got famous. She got famous as a sex star. So there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. That's what happened. So
actually, I didn't really think about. She did get famous through a sex tape.
So, bit of a hybrid between the two there. But it would be interesting to see what would happen if Ariana Grande gave that I think because Ariana Grande's profession is seen as, A-list and Hollywood and, all this stuff, that nobody would have batted an eye. They probably would have actually supported her for giving an empowering message of, leave your man if you don't love your man. I think she would have actually been praised. I think the reason there was no praise was because some people just don't like the leave your man bit. Like, right, that's not good advice for trying to make a relationship work. So if you're inclined to do that, it's bad advice. And even if you're not inclined to do that, it came from someone that you don't like because you don't like the job that she had. So I don't know. I think the internet needs to look at themselves.
I think this is more about the job she has rather than
it is. And I think that they look at themselves because it's stupid. That's the wrong reason to not like somebody.
Absolutely, guys. Hopefully it works out for her third marriage and fourth engagement.
There you go.
And then she can prove everyone wrong. I'm sure I like to look up who was a true peace after the fourth marriage, and didn't have a 30-year age gap between the bride and groom. Anyways,
I want to say Ray Kroc was married 3 times, the founder of McDonald's, and then finally found his 4th wife, and they were married for like the rest of his life.
And she was 25 when he was 55.
I want to say no, that's an example of someone who's married like 3 or 4 times, and then was happy with the he was married.
This is a good
he was married 3 times, and then he found Joan Kroc for.
Really?
Yeah.
How about
there
that?
You go.
So Dave Portnoy was in the news this week. Guess what?
What?
He's back. He's back. All right, Dave Portnoy sold back Barstool from Penn Entertainment. According to a regulatory filing, he only paid $1 for it. Mm-hmm. And Dave Portnoy is in charge of Barstool again. This comes after Penn on Tuesday announcing a $2 billion sports betting deal with ESPN. They are going to be ESPN Bet. So they're going to be a sports book, and you can bet with ESPN. And Barstool used to be a huge asset of Penn, and they sold him back. And we will see how this ultimately unfolds. Obviously, hundreds of millions of dollars have been transferred in this, and Dave Portnoy is in charge again. And basically, I wonder, do you think that Penn, my question to you with this, did Penn, Penn buys Barstool, and I'm sure they had goals in getting their influence, but it seems that they dropped Barstool to go with the bigger name in ESPN.
Well, I don't think they just dropped it to go with the bigger name. They dropped it because they didn't want to be affiliated with a company like Barstool Sports, which, honestly, in their opinion, it has
Disney.
They don't want to be affiliated with a company like that for like political reasons and other reasons, because like they don't feel like what exactly that they don't really represent like necessarily what Barstool stands for. Like they fired Mincy, they fired one of the guys, and then like Dave Portnoy rehired him immediately back. Like Dave Portnoy wants complete oversight to say whatever politically incorrect or whatnot. He wants it to be under his control. So he didn't necessarily want to be under the regulations of Penn Gambling, which is kind of a company that's going to be going into Disney.
I'll be honest. I've been hearing rumors of quite literally the opposite, that Disney wanted nothing to do with Barstool. And so Penn, to get this ESPN bets off the ground, cut Barstool. I don't think Dave Portnoy cared much at all about what happened to Barstool. He got paid. I'm not always a Portnoy fan, as Matt knows, and I think we've talked about him on the podcast.
He's a piece of shit, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, the bro culture, right? The bro culture is something that I'm not a part of. I think there's also some, dark undercurrents to some of it, but
neither am I.
I will say this: this is a freaking awesome day to be Dave Portnoy. In terms of what he's going to do with it, I bet you he's going to sell it again. Again,
well, I'm just saying, he said in his press conference, "I am never selling this ever again."
Okay, sure.
Dave
Portnoy, I know. I mean, I don't think Dave Portnoy.
Yeah, till he gets $1 billion.
Right, exactly. For as much as I don't love Dave Portnoy, I actually don't think he's some authoritarian CEO who wants to run it his way. Doesn't want to have to answer to anybody. I think he wants to make a lot of money. His brand is set. Dave Portnoy doesn't need Barstool. He's got his own influence. He's got his own name. Like, you know what I mean? He doesn't need to be in charge of Barstool. He is Barstool. It's never changing. No matter who buys Barstool, and whenever you see Barstool, you're going to think of Portnoy. You're going to think of the culture that Portnoy instilled. It's his brand. His brand is Barstool's brand, and they're interchangeable. They're interlocked forever. So he doesn't need to physically own Barstool. He doesn't need to be, dealing with the physical headaches of every day running this business to get pretty much all of the benefit. I also saw a report that part of the sale, it wasn't just a $1 sale, was residuals on the next sale.
Yeah,
I did hear that too.
If he does sell it, Penn gets 50% of whatever 50%. They get.
So Penn, and I'll say Portnoy too. I know everyone who loves him thinks he's like playing 6-dimensional chess. Penn is not going to lose that much money for $1. So there's clearly already at least some interest on the Portnoy side to sell Barstool again. Penn would not make that deal make that part of the deal, because otherwise, I mean, to be clear, if he doesn't sell, Penn doesn't make any money. They lose millions of dollars on this deal.
It says as much as 850 right here.
Yeah. So ESPN bets is going to be a massive flop in my opinion.
Oh, so, hell yeah. I don't listen. I'm definitely hinted. I'm definitely somebody who likes to wager. And for anybody who has the balls to make another sports book, like, good luck to you, even with the name ESPN, who clearly,
I think that's going to hurt it. ESPN, the name's going to hurt it. And you don't want to bet on ESPN. ESPN is the one who reports the news. You're not supposed to bet from them. They're supposed to tell you what happens so you can check your bets.
And people aren't watching. I mean, listen, probably the higher demo at the moment, but when our generation is the older one, a lot of us don't go to ESPN as the standard anymore. We get our news from wherever. And listen, do you know in the sports book, the legal sports books for the states that have it legalized at the moment, FanDuel and DraftKings. FanDuel has 43% of the market. FanDuel has 31%. So almost 3/4 of the market belongs to two sports books. Yeah. And there's the smaller ones, BetMGM, BetRivers. Clearly, they have like maybe less than 10. It says here at the moment, Barstool, they have a sports book, only 3.7% of the market. So Penn clearly has some balls trying to do that.
There's a no compete in the deal I read as well. About the sports betting. So if Barstool has 3%, we can maybe even just assume that's going to head. But no, because people are not going to just go to the Disney one just because it used to be, because Barstool can't anymore. They're probably just going to go to FanDuel. You know what I mean? But so there's 3%, guaranteed 3% up for play, because Barstool, theoretically, if I'm reading that correctly, can't do sportsbook anymore.
Well, I mean, they can, but just on their own. And then, they have, as long as they have the license.
Wouldn't that violate a no compete if they had a sports book?
I'd have to do more research on that. But according to with this, though, say they are, if that is the case, and they're going to drop their sports book. And, there's the states that do it. And, I listened to one of their podcasts that, they give their daily wager.
Which they could still do.
I think they'll figure out a way to provide that, because they definitely, that's the main. I think that was Portnoy says ultimately the goal was to help with my gambling and to showcase that more. And ever since
he's so wild.
Since they passed that,
to help with my gambling.
Well, to just to bring more of that community together. But yeah, man. Regardless, this is definitely an interesting move. Everything here is right before the NFL season and how that plays a factor. The biggest season for wagering. And I'm just wondering where you go from here. I also, I'm giving old quotes, but Portnoy said he'd be the type of dude, if I get my money, I could just go off and be retired and live on a beach the rest of my life.
And I believe that.
And it seems this deal could really help that. So I wonder what it is Barstool doing.
Can you imagine selling a company twice?
Yeah,
he can sell a company twice. It cost him $1 to do it. More than $1, because he'll have to give 50% to Penn. But still, you're going to sell your company twice? You did the work once, and you're going to get to sell it twice.
Like you said, he just loves that cash and just wants to
unheard of
make bets and eat pizza and enjoy his influence. And Barstool.
I think he's going to sell again.
just been expanding more. They just opened a new Chicago office. And yeah, they're just trying to expand their name. But reading these stats, I soak in all at least the sports broadcast, the sports podcast. They definitely have one of the biggest influences in sports podcasts. But then I really think about, man, there's more people older than 35 who go to other resources, and I wonder if Barstool's trying to really gauge that for the Gen X's and the Boomers, and
I don't think so.
And if these stats are real, it seems that at least ESPN has that for now. But watch out for those companies.
I think Barstool's culture is always going to trend younger. So I don't know how big a play they can make, even for like politically aligned Gen Xers and Boomers. It's still like it's less politics, actually. I don't like, there's some underlying politics to Portnoy and all his stuff, but it's really more like it's a vibe. Like, it's younger, it's party, it's a vibe. You know what I mean? So I think that no matter what you believe and what Dave Portnoy and his team believes, the vibe is off between Gen X, Boomers, and Barstool. There's no way to, I think, cross that Rubicon without ruining what made Barstool popular first place.
Absolutely. So Ryan, your Mr. Beast story, just had it. Do you have it in front of you, or if you want to just explain what's going on with Mr. Beast?
Sure. So as alluded to before, Mr. Beast is getting sued by the Mr. Beast Burger. So if you don't know what Mr. Beast Burger is, that's okay. Not a lot of people do, because, they taste really bad. But
have you had Mr. Beast Burger?
I have never had Mr. Beast Burger. I will say they have, what's it called? They do have an actual physical location. It
was one of those, I forgot the exact term, the ghost kitchen.
Well, yes, the ghost kitchen is different, but they do have a physical location in New Jersey. I forget where in New Jersey. I didn't go though, when I lived there. But the rest of the scheme is that other restaurants make the food. So you can go online and order Mr. Beast Burger food, right? And a different restaurant is going to cook it and then deliver it to you in the Mr. Beast packaging. It was supposed to take off because of COVID-19. Like, that was the thought process, right? Like, it was during COVID, these ghost kitchens, and obviously that didn't happen. You know what I mean? We've gone back to a more traditional, dining was one of the first things that people wanted to do again when they were safely allowed to do it, right? Mm-hmm. So Mr. Beast has actually gone on record before saying that his burgers are trash. He went out and said if he could, he would have discontinued Mr. Beast Burger a long time ago. But sometimes when you're young, you sign a bad contract, right? He's tweeted that out. So he's since sued to try and get out of the contract because of the irreparable damage, his words, right, that it's done to his brand. But the company is now countersuing him for $100 million for the damage that he's doing to their brand, which is just his brand. Saying that he's a celebrity, he thinks he can do what he wants, but he signed a contract, he has to honor that contract. If he's not going to honor the contract, they're going to penalize him for it. So it's a whole messy fight, and I just find it so interesting because the company is suing Mr. Beast for besmirching the name of Mr. Beast. Essentially, like, the burger company doesn't exist without him. It is literally called Mr. Beast Burger. Like, there's no other name. It's not like McDonald's with the Travis Scott thing, right? It's like his own restaurant. And they're like, you're besmirching our name. Like, it's his name. It's right there. You're mad that he's saying that his burger is bad? He's telling you it's his burger.
When I see these stories, especially when you do a $100 million lawsuit, right, usually 9 times out of 10, these get either settled out of court or just completely dropped to show how ridiculous this is. And I feel like this is more publicity, if anything. I don't know.
Right, but what's crazy, so like, as a publicity stunt, this is a bad idea too, because this entire court case revolves around the fact that these burgers taste bad. Mm-hmm. They have an issue with him saying they're inedible. So every time you talk about this, you have to admit that the issue is that the burgers are bad. So there's no way to like turn this into, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, if he says it's bad, but to be fair, if he says it's bad, why should I go?
Right.
He already has $1 bajillion.
And it's his
and doesn't cause riots for it.
Well, I mean, he is one of, by the way, he's one of the ones I was talking about with his content is just giving people things that don't have it. But
Oh yeah, that's all of his content.
yeah, that's all of his content. He gave those people like surgery so they could see again or whatever, which was particularly interesting and a little scary. But let's not talk about that. That's old news. This is just so crazy to me. How can you sue someone for disliking their own burger? Like, I get he signed a contract, but guys, jig is up. If Mr. Beast is telling people that his burger is bad, then the burger is bad. There's nothing you can do. You should just move on. I don't know. I mean, maybe the contract is ironclad and they're like, we're going to go out of business anyway. Let's see if we can't take $100 million on the way out. But other than that, this makes no sense. Like, what do they hope to gain out of this? That the brand is dead. It is. Mr. Beast is the brand, and he said it's dead. So what brand are they protecting? If he wants to kill his own brand, like that's his prerogative, right?
Let him do it. Let him not cook and suffer from it. So, you people just, especially with the insane cash you're asking for, worry about something else.
Also,
you're not going to win. Mr. Beast is going to win.
He's got $100 million. I'm sure of it. Just pay him.
Yeah, exactly. Hayden, what were your stories? You had two you were thinking of. Well, talk to me about.
I saw recently. I saw recently the Johnny Manziel documentary, which was pretty interesting. I saw that one basically about how his career went downhill because he was basically on booze and on drugs, basically his entire career. He would show up to meetings hungover. He would show up to the games, like high, and then eventually he got to the point where he ultimately wanted to commit suicide at the end of his run at Cleveland, which was pretty sad. A guy that pretty much was one of the most electrifying players in all college football history.
Did you see that?
That was pretty sad. He clocked
0.00
hours
on film.
Of film, and it's like
that's why
really
that's why it didn't work in the NFL.
It also goes to show you that it goes to show you that what happens off the field is equally as important as what happens on the field, because a lot of these players' careers are doomed by what happens off the field. Like Jamar Snuffle never studied film. That happened off the field. Ryan Leaf, what his habits and all these drug problems, all the reasons why these guys have never fulfilled their potential on the field, a lot of it has to do with their issues off the field. So that really goes to show you that it's not just about being, the person who throws all the touchdowns. It's about being a good example and someone who could be a leader. And when these people have issues like this, it shows they weren't ready to lead.
You can't win on talent alone. You just can't.
I don't know about that, Matt. I know I put in 0.0 hours into preparing for this. I can't even, because that's actually not true. I work harder to do this than Johnny Manziel did
I actually put in
for
some time
the
doing this.
Cleveland Browns.
I actually put in some time doing this.
That's one of the things you're just so annoyed at, because I really think he could have developed to a solid pro.
Oh no,
he
Johnny
didn't.
Manziel had all the talent in the world to be a great quarterback. He just didn't want to put in the time and effort like guys who did.
After this doc, when we forget about him, he'll just make appearances or say some crazy stuff on the internet and ride off his fame that way.
And then there's all right, now that in Bachelorette land, there's some other stories in Bachelorette land. I don't know if you follow the Bachelorette, Ryan, or no.
This is Bachelorette, not
Bachelorette. So one of the main women, Gabby Wendy, from their most recent season came out of the closet and is dating a woman now. It was refreshing for the LGBT community. It was a refreshing idea that someone's open about this stuff. I think the timing was a little weird. She just kind of all of a sudden, has a girlfriend out of the blue. She claimed it as an itch that she could no longer ignore. So, credit to her for living her best life.
Thank God she didn't get picked, huh?
What?
Thank God she didn't get picked on The Bachelor.
Thank God she didn't, ultimately end up marrying her.
Yeah.
Finding her husband. And she had relationships with Clayton Eckard, who was one of the Echard, that's his name. He was one of the bachelors who was famously entangled with Susie Evans and Rachel Recchia, her and Gabby Wendy shared a season together. So Rachel Recchia ended up leaving Tino because Tino cheated on her, and then Gabby.
I have to interrupt you. I absolutely love, Hayden, that you are tossing names out there with the confidence of someone who clearly knows what they're talking about. That is
I mean,
awesome.
I
Because
actually
I
know.
mean,
I
you could have
actually
made
know a
all
little.
this up.
Unfortunately, I actually know a little. Not unfortunately, but I know enough.
Unfortunately, own it.
I know enough about the drama in Bachelorette land and Bachelor land, so it's just interesting that she has a girlfriend now, like, and it's like it was kind of out of nowhere. So like, part of me, I'm not even trying to be like, I'm not trying to like say anything against like the community or whatever, but part of me was wondering a little bit if this is a publicity stunt, a little bit, because it came so far out of left field that like obviously she's obviously not doing it for attention, but if I didn't know any better, like, you could argue that it's so shocking. Like, so that's why I was like a little bit surprised by this. But that being said, it is good for the community, and like it's good for Bachelor Nation and Bachelorette Nation. That at least you could see this woman living her truth.
Yeah.
So
it's probably the happiest relationship out of everyone on the show.
Yeah.
Or is that not true? Is that not true?
Love?
I don't know.
I mean, she found her person, so credit to her.
Don't we love? Speaking of that, I saw Rhea Ripley and Buddy. Why am I missing?
Matthews or Murphy, you pick.
Buddy Murphy are engaged, so maybe my theory about her and Dom and
Matt, your theory is wrong. I'm sorry. Your theory is wrong. You've been wrong this whole time, and we didn't have the heart to tell you.
I don't know. I've heard Dom is pissed. He lost
his
mommy.
Huh?
But you got to admit though, this is gonna be hard to spin now with Judgment Day with the real life.
Dom is engaged too.
So now you have to. If I was at this crowd, I'd say phony. You need to have what these bachelorettes have. True love.
The leader of Judgment Day used to dress like a demon when he wrestled, Matt. I don't know if you knew that. Wrestling is, I'm going to use a bad word for my industry, fake. It's not real. They don't have to be telling the truth. Oftentimes they're not.
Oh, very quick things before we wrap it up. One, listen, I'm at an age now where I used to love fast food and still low key do, but I'm at an age now where my body can't take it anymore, where I will get legitimately sick as if I'm hungover. There was one time recently, after a night of going out, I had McDonald's and I felt worse.
Yeah.
But there's something that people have requested and it's coming back, but not from McDonald's, from another fast food restaurant. And it was announced that Burger King is bringing the Royal Crispy Chicken Sandwich, which is pretty much the snack wrap.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember the snack wrap.
I'm very, very passionate about this issue. Very. Because I was a McDonald's snack wrap. I was eating like one or two a day at one point. It's a terrible thing to say. But like it was really bad.
People wanted this.
It was really, really bad. I was very, very passionate about the product. They were great. They've tried to rip these snack wraps off, and they've never been the same. Wendy's wasn't the same. I mean, I'll try this one just to see how awful it was. But like, you just can't replace a McDonald's snack wrap. Like you can't replace the Wendy's Frosty. Like McDonald's has tried to do it, and they failed at it. They can't do the Frosty. Neither can Burger King. No disrespect to any of these companies. You can't replace the snack wrap. It's just one of those fast food items. You can't do it. Like I'm sorry. A McDonald's snack wrap is one of the most irreplaceable, probably the most irreplaceable fast food item there is, with the exception of maybe the Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuits is one of them, Texas Roadhouse bread, and probably the Bang Bang shrimp from Bonefish Girl is another one that's like these are like irreplaceable fast food items or chain items. Like the McDonald's snack wrap, and they could try to replicate it. Like I was at Texas Roadhouse recently, and I had this like cactus blossom, which is their version of the Bloomin' Onion, and it was disgusting. It was
where is this?
It was
where's this
it was fucking nasty, and it was trying to replicate Outback. And anytime you're trying to replicate a famous product, 99.9% of the time, it does not work. Like I'm gonna tell it like it is. If they're trying to replicate something that's famous, 99.9% of the time it doesn't work. I'm interested to try this Burger King snack wrap. I know I'm going to be disappointed. I will try it anyway, but it's just an absolute travesty that McDonald's didn't bring back the snack wrap.
Well, it's Burger King's version, and they're going to bring back. There's going to do for $3 each, classic spicy and honey mustard, and I really think this is going to take over America.
Oh no,
you do, man.
You're.
We wanted the snack wrap back, and it's coming back at Burger King.
Very, very misinformed. I'm sorry to let you know that.
People want this, Hayden.
I'm just telling you
all the time on the
it's
food.
Not McDonald's. It will
do
never
you really?
It will never be a McDonald's snack wrap. It won't. It will not.
Hold on.
In all seriousness, I really do see a lot of influencers say foods we want to bring back the snack wrap, and Burger King's doing it.
No, McDonald's snack wrap is
one of my favorites. Who does WWE stuff
on the petition to bring it back.
Oh,
like the McDonald's snack wrap was one of the most, probably the most famous fast food item of all time.
God,
Burger King is hopping on that wave.
Like
I wish I was excited about this as everybody else.
It was bigger than a Big Mac. It was bigger than, like, I'm not even kidding you. That's how big this item was. Like, it was a very gigantic deal.
Was I in a coma for like years? I barely remember the snack.
Because you don't eat fast food enough.
I used to eat it fine, but like, well, I mean, maybe not.
The McDonald's snack wrap was a huge deal. Like, it was a very big deal.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe this. I want people to @TweetCap tell me about the snack wrap. Your favorite snack wrap memory.
I have exactly.
I have so many good ones.
S. Johnson voiceovers, who is awesome food reviewer. I really hope he comes on this podcast one day. Very smooth voice, and he even does WWE promos. He's a voiceover artist. So hear his video, foods they need to bring back. Here is his thoughts on the snack wrap.
Can't hear it.
See?
Couldn't hear that, but
you could hear that. Well, he was mad.
Send it to me. I'll tweet it out when the episode goes live. People, it would be a supplemental thing. Yeah, no, I have no strong feeling for the snack wrap of McDonald's or anywhere else. I think this is crazy. We talked about an actual.
I'm telling you, this is going to take over America.
Fights. We talked about 2 actual fights. And this is the most shocking thing we talked about today was the fact that you guys are obsessed with the snack wrap.
Oh no,
this
is
awesome.
No.
I love
it.
This is also the Royal Crispy wrap.
It's one of the It is
Royal
one of the
Crispy
greatest
wrap.
things that has ever been invented. The McDonald's
and Burger King. This is going to rejuvenate.
This is awesome.
I will actually put that on this podcast. The McDonald's snack wrap was one of the greatest things. And quite frankly, one of the biggest tragedies in America when they took rid of that. Like,
oh my God!
Hayden, don't you think this is the exact same thing? It's going to work.
Like, I don't mean that, like, not to be like insensitive, but like
I got you. I'm gonna say this: taste off. We're gonna do an episode. But you can't because snack wrap's gone.
I can't.
This
do
is
it
the
anymore.
Royal
They got
Crispy
rid of
wrap.
them.
Oh man, we'll never know.
Like,
this is Sting and Undertaker all over
as
again.
bad if they got if they got rid of the bloomin' onion. That would be a gigantic another one too. Like the bloomin' onion, that's another iconic dish.
Well, shout out
like
to
if
the
Outback, if Outback got rid of the
Lobster,
bloomin'
too.
onion, they'd probably lose about 40% of their sales.
Shout out to the Red
Like,
Lobster.
I'm honestly shocked that McDonald's was able to recover so well after getting rid of the snack wrap. Like it was honestly the most popular menu. Like they don't.
They're the largest global food brand.
They don't need
ever.
the McRib. They don't need the McRib. The
No,
McRib
they
is
don't.
awful. They needed the snack wrap. Like the snack wrap drove a lot of their sales.
Turns out,
I don't agree with that. Like it did.
And Burger King will just do it. Now remember, during the NFL playoffs, after every commercial, you heard Whopper,
yeah.
And now you're gonna have the Royal Crispy Wrap song, and that's gonna take over America. Trust me, I am so confident about this.
Boy, you're making a real.
I think you're both wrong.
We'll see how it tastes. I'll try it out. I'll see how it tastes.
It literally this is Food and Wine magazine. They have an article.
Try it out.
Burger King Royal Crispy Wraps, McDonald's snack wraps dupe. That's from a legit, pretty respected magazine, Food and Wine. So we'll see. McDonald's. Let's say one thing though. McDonald's is definitely going to bring back snack wraps if this becomes a hit.
No, because Wendy's did it and they didn't do it. So no, I don't agree with you on that.
Oh, but this is Burger King now. Burger King definitely has more of an influence than Wendy's on America. This is coming out this Monday, the 14th. So when we record that tweet cap, you could literally bring in and give a live review, Hayden.
We'll keep an eye on it for sure.
All right, final story. The woman who I will say
update, yeah,
is probably the internet's crush right now as a whole. As reported by the New York Post, Tiffany Gomez, a Dallas resident, 38 years old, was kicked off the plane after her bizarre outbursts that went viral and that caused hours of delays. She has been identified. The girl who said that motherfucker is not real. Her name is Tiffany Gomez. She somehow was able to not get identified by the internet for a solid, 6 weeks? And
we
according
still
to
know where
this,
she lives right now.
The argument had started when Gomez fell out with relatives she was traveling with, accusing them of stealing her iPads, the police said. This is reported by the New York Post. So, yeah, that's her. So, please don't be a dick knowing her name. Don't be weird.
Yeah, don't be weird. But I can't say I don't agree. Obviously, it's not an agree or disagree thing. But I watched that video. It had nothing to do with AirPods. Come on, who says that? What kind of insult is that?
Unless that's a lie.
Well, you're not real.
I lost my AirPods. You're not real.
You're not real. What?
If this is a bad example of trying to hide up what's really happening, that's a bad excuse.
That's insane to me. If you must have been having a really bad day, if someone steals from you and you turn around and you say, "I'm not going to die on this plane with them," you're not real. Because she said that you can all stay and die if you want, but I'm getting off this plane. Like, she evoked a plane crash. There's no way that was over AirPods.
She's clearly not mentally stable, if I'm being honest.
I don't think we can blame that. I don't think so. She's a marketing executive. She has a job. She has a family. I don't know, Hayden. I disagree. I don't think we can.
Everybody on the internet's in love with her.
There are people in jobs that are not mentally stable. Trust me.
Sure. I mean, I might be one of them. Who knows? I'm just saying that response has nothing to do with AirPods. Nothing to do with AirPods. And I don't know. I don't like it. Don't like it one bit. And I'm not a conspiracy guy. Matt knows that. I call out conspiracy all the time because most of the time they don't make sense. And in fairness, this one doesn't make sense. Don't know why they would lie. But it doesn't feel like that's what was happening. It really doesn't.
Yeah, dude. Well, do we see Tiffany going on any big podcasts? Do we see her going to take advantage of this fame?
No, I mean, not fame.
Do the 60 Minutes interview. What did you see?
She seems embarrassed by it, either because it was about AirPods and she overreacted, or because it's not about AirPods and she doesn't want to talk about it. Either way, I don't think she's going to make a big thing out of this.
Interesting. Well, if there's a will, there's a way with the internet. If you will get identified, whether you like it or not.
Turns out.
But yeah, this was a great one. I appreciate it. Already quick turnaround. We'll be back on Tuesday with another TweetCap. So we will see you all then. Great work, Hayden and Ryan.
Thanks, Matt.